Welcome back, and I hope you're having a great morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. We're going to deal with a couple stories in this video. The first story will, of course, be the LeBron James NBA China controversy, and then I'm going to slip into the Democratic debate. So I don't know how long this will take, because I tried filming it last night, and I realized there were a couple things that I forgot, and I'll try to get through everything right now. With LeBron James, let's hear some of his comments. I don't know if I'll play the whole thing. I'll put this in the links in the first comment, and you can judge for yourself. But here's some of the comments they made, and I'll also comment on it afterward.
I felt like with this particular situation, it was something not only was I, not informed enough about. I just felt like it was something that not only myself or my teammates or our organization had enough information to even talk about it at that point in time, and we still feel the same way.
How do you think the league handled the situation overall?
I'm not sure. I'm not here to judge how the league handled the situation. I just think that, when you're misinformed or you're not educated about something, and I'm just talking about, the tweet itself, you never know the ramifications that can happen. We all seen what that did. Not only did for our league, but for all of us in America, for people in China as well. And sometimes you have to think through things that you say that may cause harm, not only for yourself, but for the majority of people. And I think that's just a prime example of that. I'll give you a one-on-one exclusive because you're my guy.
LeBron, there was a report that you guys met with Adam while you were in China. Did you feel like he was receptive to what you guys had to say when you guys met?
I think Adam has always been receptive about what the players and the coaches and the owners or whoever kind of have comments about our league. And at that particular time, I thought he was very receptive as well. It's a tough situation for Adam as well, having to put out such a fire that he didn't create, that he didn't start. I believe, it was great for him to come, from Tokyo to come to Shanghai, and for him to have a meeting with us and for us to have our opinions and what we felt was best going forward.
All right, so I think we've heard pretty much enough of what he thinks. It's very ironic that LeBron James is saying that someone else is uneducated about something when he's wearing around his neck. You can see this cursor over here. This is the Hamsa symbol, which is a symbol of protection in, I guess, North Africa, mainly among both Muslims and Jews. And I'm sure that he is fully aware of the symbolic significance of the Hamsa, or maybe he just thought it was a cool necklace. This is a thing that LeBron James does often when he's asked about other people's opinions or things that people do when they disagree with him. And instead of actually talking about the substance of the other person's beliefs, he will claim that they are uneducated and uninformed. He did this a couple years ago, I think it was in 2017, when asked about the fact that he lives in Ohio, at the time he did, and he played for the Cavaliers, and Ohio was won massively by Donald Trump. Trump won the state by the largest margin since any president since the 80s, and basically LeBron James decided, I don't think that they was educated. Those were his words, okay? And it's really an insult to the rest of the world when someone who he's only ever had to play basketball, he's only ever had to be involved in movies and sponsorships and things like that. And he's not a dumb idiot. He's not like Le'Veon Bell, who's a complete and utter moron who got all of his jewelry stolen by a couple of whores. LeBron James is one of the less ridiculous athletes out there. He does have a number of intelligent takes out there. He hasn't been showing them for the last couple years because he has completely given in to his supernova ego. So LeBron James, in my opinion, when he says that Daryl Morey was uneducated about China, that is the most basic cop-out. It's something that he does very, very frequently. It is something that he uses in order to avoid actually saying something of substance about an issue. If you want to go and say, it's more important for me to make money and do my business in China and be able to profit off of that relationship between the companies that I am sponsored by and the league that I work for and the team that I work for, it's more important for me to do that than to, support the Hong Kong protesters or oppose various abuses of the Chinese government. I can definitely hear him out. I think that some of the coverage of what's going on in China might not be above board. I don't think that China is necessarily a country that we should be too deeply involved in trying to change. We've already messed up other countries. But when you try to say that other people who have other opinions that are based on things that they are watching concerning Hong Kong, and you're saying that they're uneducated, how would you know that? Maybe Daryl Morey has been following it pretty closely. You don't know what's going on there. And obviously, Daryl Morey and his tweet, they don't warrant some sort of massive draconian crackdown on the NBA, which is effectively what the Chinese did. They took them off of broadcasts, and now you have some of these athletes who are essentially coming with hat in hand and saying, please, China, please don't cut us off from that sweet teat of money. So, yeah, I think LeBron James is a disgraceful person. I have started calling him LaFraud Shames. And we can't continue to dodge issues by saying that people are uneducated, as he does with literally everything else. I can accept it once in a while, but even then, it's a bit despicable. Now, for the Democratic debate, this was clearly a debate that was with too many candidates, and it was way too long. 12 candidates on the same stage. I believe that they were all on the same stage. I didn't see any time when one of them was taken off or 6 new ones came on. This debate was a bit of a mess, and I will call out winners and losers of the debate. So first of all, the big winner, if there is a big winner, would probably be Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who I think showed that he was able to competently attack other candidates while taking the minimal amount of flack from others. I think that he won the debate. I don't know if it's really going to help him because, first of all, I don't know if the ratings are really of much significance. And second, the audience for these debates is divided, I believe, in very unfavorable ways for the candidates. Okay, the audience consists of really, really partisan Democrats and social justice warriors. That's probably about 50% of the audience. Then you have another 10% that are media people. Then you have another 15% that are Republicans who are tuning in just to laugh at the candidates, including conservative media. And then you might have some swing voters from those that are left over. So yeah, maybe a quarter of the people who are tuning in are genuinely interested in what the candidates are saying because they're undecided. And look, if those people are swung by Pete Buttigieg or by any of the other candidates, Elizabeth Warren, Andrew Yang, I guess it's a win for them. But I think that these debates have been a disaster for the Democratic Party, largely because people don't really pay attention to the more rational and practical people who are on the stage. They pay attention to the ones who go completely nuts. Last night wasn't especially auspicious for the number of crazy things said, but I will admit that I was watching the Razor Fist stream, so he was talking over the candidates a fairly large, a lot of times you just couldn't hear what they were saying. So based on what I did hear, I'll call out if the person is a winner or a loser. So Joe Biden, I don't think is a winner at all. I think he definitely came onto that stage and looked basically like a a scarecrow up there. 'Tis the season. He didn't really seem like he was genuinely able to interact with the other candidates. And as far as what happened with Ukraine, there was a leading question by Anderson Cooper that was clearly CNN trying to cover up for real problems with his association with Ukraine through his son Hunter Biden. And the way that he asked it was that Donald Trump is asserting falsely that there is corruption involved in Ukraine. I don't think anyone who was watching could listen to that question and honestly think that this debate was a real reflection of the facts and, an unbiased moderation. If even though they were trying to be favorable to the Democrats, why be favorable to one candidate who there's significant evidence has real ethical problems, if not blatant corruption? Cory Booker, also not a fantastic performance at all. I would say he faded and seemed very, very wooden, and he even tried to stick up for Joe Biden. This is a couple months after him and Kamala Harris and some other candidates were trying to insinuate that Joe Biden had some sort of, I guess, racial insensitivity back in the day, as far as busing and as far as certain things that he said in the past. And no, I think Cory Booker had a bad debate. Pete Buttigieg, I'd say he had a good debate. I don't know if you can call it a great debate because it's not as if what he said was soundbite worthy, but his sparring with Beto O'Rourke was very, very, I guess it was a lopsided victory on his part, because he made it very clear that what Beto is proposing is essentially door-to-door confiscation of firearms, which would result in a lot of bloodshed. And Julian Castro made the same point. I think it was kind of piggybacking on Pete Buttigieg. I don't know if it really made much sense that, he would follow the same thing that Pete was saying, but they both did a good job of beating up on Beto, which I don't know if there's a point to anymore, because Beto is pretty. I don't know if there's any chance that Beto will go anywhere in this primary, but we'll get to him soon. Tulsi Gabbard had a good debate. A lot of parts where she went and effectively said, "Why is the media calling me a Russian plant or a Russian asset?" They had said, "Why are they calling me an Assad apologist?" and things like that. It's not true, and she directly confronted them about it. She even confronted Elizabeth Warren, asking, "Are you in favor of an open-ended commitment in Syria?" So she had a good debate, but a good debate I wouldn't say was something that, I don't think it's something that would really be a breakthrough moment for her. I think a lot of the Democratic electorate is sealed off from supporting Tulsi Gabbard simply because they have bought into this Russiagate hysteria, lock, stock, and barrel. So, look, I personally, if there was a candidate that I would vote for on the Democratic side, it would only be Tulsi Gabbard. None of the other ones, I think, have any real chance of earning my vote. Not that it really matters, because I think Ohio and the primary would probably go to a couple people who I think I'll talk about that in a minute. Kamala Harris, bad debate. I think she's a definite loser. She brought up this issue where Elizabeth Warren would not support the banning of Donald Trump from Twitter. And I get it. Some Democrats and some of these real hardcore resistors are obsessed with Donald Trump and his tweeting and want him to be censored and things like that. Did that appeal to them? Maybe. Did that appeal to the average voter that would support a different candidate? But for that, I don't think those voters exist. I don't think it got anyone to switch their vote from Elizabeth Warren to Kamala Harris. And in fact, she looked the entire debate like one of the most petty people. She repeatedly just cringed at questions and seemed almost ready to, I guess, yell back at the moderator. At one point, she claimed that she could indict Donald Trump for, I I guess I don't remember, for obstruction of justice because he's confessed, or for collusion because he's confessed. I don't even remember. But she was saying, as a prosecutor, I have a confession that he had. No, that was not a confession, and she would probably have her case thrown out the first day. Other people. So Amy Klobuchar had a decent debate, and she did seriously attack both Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren about Medicare for All and the impracticalities of it, and the fact that they would force, I think this was the issue, they would force the government to raise taxes on the middle class and also eliminate existing Medicare both Medicare and existing insurance plans. So I think that in terms of the way that she was able to assert herself on stage, it was a good debate, and it's not going to make a difference because Amy Klobuchar is going nowhere. And I think in the next few weeks she's going to have to drop out, because who is going to be donating to Amy Klobuchar? I don't know anyone. Amy Klobuchar she's probably survived in the race just because there are enough people who are afraid that Joe Biden might have to drop out, that they're wanting to hedge their bets by supporting another so-called moderate. Beto O'Rourke was a definite loser. Beto O'Rourke, as usual, looks extremely lost on stage when he's debating other people, especially if it's other Democrats. When you have him showing a clear contrast to Ted Cruz, which is what happened in the Senate race in 2018, Beto O'Rourke at least appears to be something different. When he's on the stage with other Democrats, he has to flail around and look and desperately try to get people to pay attention to him. And it's a losing tactic, and it's not gotten him anywhere. And Mayor Pete looked very sane while Beto was basically looking like he was lost in the middle of the desert. So, yeah, Beto O'Rourke, I don't know who's voting for him. Those people who are answering in their surveys that they're voting for Beto O'Rourke, I'd really like to know their reason, because there's nothing in this guy that inspires me to think that he really could be president. I think he would crack under the pressure, and he would probably be out within a week. Bernie Sanders. Bernie. Bernie Sanders did show up and had a very vigorous performance, belying the rumors that he would be incapable of performing at the debate. Did he have a great performance? I don't think so. But again, there were a lot of parts of the debate that I couldn't hear very well. And I think that when he harps on his Medicare for All, and he works on a lot of his issues in terms of income inequality and things like that, well, there's people who will, that just resonates with them. So it's hard to really judge whether he had a great debate, but he definitely did not have a bad debate. And I think that those people who are claiming that his campaign is over are really writing him off very early. I think that so long as he doesn't have another medical event, and so long as there's not some other major issue with his campaign, let's say a scandal or some sort of real accident or something, I think that Bernie Sanders will probably be able to stay in the race until January, when there's the Iowa caucuses, and then we'll see if Bernie Sanders does a decent either second or first. I think he could still be a threat for the nomination. If Bernie Sanders finishes in third place in Iowa and then cannot win New Hampshire, I will then say that I think his race is over, and that a lot of these people have moved on. A lot of the people who supported him in 2016 have moved on to other candidates, or they're not voting, or they're disaffected. It'll be tough to know. He is one of the candidates who could win Ohio. That would probably be, if I was to make a list of candidates who could win Ohio, it would be Bernie, it would be Joe Biden, it would be Pete Buttigieg, and possibly Elizabeth Warren. Those are the four, and the rest of these people would have a very tough time. Even Tulsi Gabbard, who I personally think is the only Democratic candidate I could support, is not really doing well in the area, and I believe she's not even on the ballot yet here. So, the first key to victory is getting on the ballot. So that's a real problem for Tulsi. So I don't even know if I'm going to have the chance to even vote for her in the primary. In which case, if there's no Tulsi Gabbard on the ballot, and I don't even think that there's a write-in option for primaries, I'm not going to vote in the primary. I'm just going to vote for Trump in the election. None of these other clowns is worth it. Speaking of clowns, there's Tom Steyer. Very bizarre debate performance. Stared into the camera like a cult leader. Horrible. Really, the brightest spot for Tom Steyer had nothing to do with anything he said. The brightest spot for him was when Amy Klobuchar said in response to Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren that no one on the stage was in favor of helping billionaires, not even the billionaire, meaning Tom Steyer. So I think that of the few moments that he was able to talk, they were very, very unconvincing and even creepy. And Tom Steyer is just dumping tons and tons of money on this campaign. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I don't think that Democrats are going to nominate a billionaire. And I think he could be embarrassed when these Iowa caucuses come up. And then, therefore, if you can't get any support in Iowa, which is hard to do because it's a caucus, it's difficult to rebound from that in places like New Hampshire. Elizabeth Warren was attacked a lot in the debate. I don't think that she did terrible, but then again, I think that she doesn't really respond well to attacks. And there's a lot of people who are saying if she can't sustain her tough front against somebody like Amy Klobuchar or someone like Pete Buttigieg, how would she deal with Donald Trump, who would be literally bare knuckle, biting your ear off and everything? I think that she probably is, getting used to this front runner status. I was looking today, and wouldn't you know it, that Economist / YouGov is saying that some of these polls are not always reliable, but I think Economist and YouGov is the best you can get. So, yeah, they have her at 29 versus Biden at 25 and Sanders at 13. So she is, in my opinion, the real front runner. Some of these other polls are having her, they're having Biden ahead by 11. There's no way in hell that Joe Biden is ahead by 11 points. There's no way in hell that he's ahead by 14 points, like the Hill is saying. I don't know what the hell these people are smoking, and it's really dishonesty at this point. Who else is left? We have Andrew Yang. Not a bad performance, but it's more of the same. More of the UBI. We need to secure the future for Americans threatened by automation. We get it, Andrew. What about all of the other issues that are going on? Talk about them at the debate. On his website, he has a lot of very detailed plans. He should be, I guess, diversifying what he's showing at the debate if he can. Now, it's not the worst thing in the world because I think Andrew Yang thrives in other environments besides the debates, and he's obviously building up a good grassroots movement. And I think we might be surprised by how many people actually go to vote for Andrew Yang. In fact, where I live, the only signs that I see of any candidate, and there's only two of them, but the only signs that I see of any candidate on anyone's lawns are Andrew Yang's. So good for him. He is getting support in an apathetic state like Ohio. But will it be enough? I don't know. I don't think that he's going to win. I think that he's certainly he had a great moment where he criticized Bernie Sanders over some issue where Sanders was saying, well, there needs to be a guaranteed jobs bill. And Andrew Yang was like, no, my wife needs to stay home because we have an autistic son. And it's a fair point. I don't know if I would force someone to go to work if they have a child at home, especially a disabled child. I think that would probably be wrong. And definitely Andrew Yang's perspective is an educated perspective on how to deal with issues for people who have disabilities and they can't go to work, things like that. And even if I don't disagree with Andrew Yang, I think I respect him more than the average candidate. But I still would not vote for him. I think he is a Russiagator, and that's my real criteria for supporting anyone who is running this year. If you're one of these people who is a Russia conspiracy hack, someone who buys into this nonsense, there's no chance of me supporting you in any way. So that's about it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also subscribe to me on BitChute and on Minds, as well as on Subscribestar if you want to donate. You can also find those are at Chef Leopard, by the way. You can also find me on Gab at Starscream85.
Inside my future eye, what I see just makes me cry. I'm way down now. I'm way down now. The clocks will all run